Erin spends a ton of time talking to people who are in the same boat that we were in, and it's really helpful for a family that's going through that kind of situation to be able to have somebody that can relate.
I met Lindsay and Mike again when their baby was in utero. We didn't know at the time if it was a boy or a girl, but we did know that there were severe complications, and we knew that life after birth was going to be a potential difficulty. But we knew if we could get the baby to term that there's hope. And by just being a support for her, and by reaching out to her every week and letting her know that I love her and that she's not alone and that she doesn't have to walk these footsteps alone, I think it offered her hope to get through that day. I'll never forget, I got the phone call from Lindsay at 6:30 in the morning after the baby had passed. He passed away right after birth, and she didn't know how to breathe. She didn't know how to take that next breath for herself, never mind continue life on after that moment. And I was sitting in the office and rocking and reliving everything that we had gone through with Brianna, and somehow I had the words for her, and I was able to let her know that it was going to be okay, that there are rough days ahead, but that life does go on, and that it's her mission, as I feel like it is with me, to continue the life of Brianna. So together, Lindsay and I have just become friends, and I hope I've given her some guidance, and I've learned a lot from her and from a lot of the parents that I've met on this journey. And I know that Lindsay has now started her own nonprofit as a result of, I think, what she saw, what we did.
Our goal was to make it to 32 weeks, and we made it to 34. And we had been told at that point that fetal hydrops was ruled out. We did not have to worry about that. The tests were done, and that was not a concern for our child. We were told, though, that the baby had esophageal atresia, which was a condition where he was not able to swallow in utero, so he was not able to hold any amniotic fluid. At this point, we didn't have much more to be concerned about other than the esophageal issue. So we had no inkling that things were going to go the way they did. The nurse that was taking care of us at our bedside explained to us that he wasn't able to breathe. Apparently, he had a condition with his trachea that was not visible on ultrasound. His trachea was not formed fully and did not connect to his lungs. So as they were trying to intubate, they could not, because there was no connection to the lung. There was no way to get oxygen. Mike realized that he was going to die before I did. I had been in labor and delivery for a long time. I was very heavily medicated at that point. I was confused. I didn't understand until the moment that Mike yelled this yell in the OR. And he talks about things that stay with him, but this guttural scream that sounded like nothing else I'd ever heard that came from my husband was when I realized that our son was going to die. And when it hit me, instead of, I don't know why, but instead of feeling just lost, I felt, and we said this, we yelled this out loud in the OR, our God is good all the time. All the time. I felt an overwhelming need to make sure that the people that were in that room with us knew right then and there, as we were living a nightmare, that we still believed in God's plan. There was such a presence in that room, and we were not a case anymore, right? We were not a medical case that they were taking care of until the next one. Lives were changed in that room that night. And so they gave him to us, they gave him to Mike, and he held him, and he put him on my chest, and we held him until he passed. And he passed in our arms on my chest.
When Christian was delivered, they carried him over, and I saw his little hands, his little feet kicking loose. And I could see him work on him. And I'm like looking at Lindsay and looking back over my shoulder at Christian. It's kind of hard to get past that, because that sits with you. And it never goes away.
And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know how to breathe. I didn't know anything. Nothing looked the same. Nothing smelled the same. I mean, like Mike said, it is surreal. And the first person I needed to speak to was Erin. And I called her, and it was, 5 o'clock in the morning or something. And I said, what do I do now? How do I breathe? Tell me what to do, not in the long run, but like in the next 5 minutes. I need you to get me through the next 5 minutes, and then the 10 minutes after that, and after that, and after that. And she did. And I think that she taught me how to then carry that forward to other parents. When we're contacted about a family who has lost a child, all I can hope to be for them is what she was for me then. And so you show up. That's what you do, and that's what I would tell people. You show up, and you keep showing up. I think I mentioned before, he was born February 25th, and everything changed. Our paradigm, who we are to the core as parents, as individuals, as friends, as volunteers, as coworkers, everything changed. I look at who I was on February 24th. I had no idea that life could be lived so deeply, and so much good can come from so much pain. But having said that, like Mike said, the things that we experience are soul crushing. Every day that you live without a child that you are biologically created to nurture is the most difficult thing that I won't ever be able to truly explain to someone who hasn't also experienced it. We promised each other as parents and as a couple, the day we left the hospital, when we had to hand his body back over to the nurse, because they allowed us to have him in the room to spend some time with him, we promised each other that we would always turn toward one another as opposed to away. And we feel like this has been huge for our marriage and our partnership. And we have just decided that we're not gonna stop being his parents. And I said, we're biologically created to nurture this child that we made, and that doesn't go away because he did. So we've chosen to parent him in the best way we know how, and that's how it's changed us. Our focus has changed. We have since created a foundation as well, and we make it our mission to refuse to allow his death to be in vain. There are so many things that we can't control, but I can control how we go from here and how we choose to use this experience that we were asked to survive.